Preview.
Appreciate you guys being here. So I was tagged on a Facebook post, I don't even remember, a couple months ago, that people that I should interview. One was Kevin, right? Super cool guy, over $680 million. Sold in real estate since 2014. He's got 45 people on his team. But one of the cool things I was just chatting with him is he's learned how to break into the multi-million-dollar markets, right? You said hopefully you've got a big listing coming up, but you're doing a ton of million-dollar deals going on.
So Kevin, in 90 seconds or less, the breakdown of where you were and how you got to where you're at with your business and your life today.
90 seconds. Let's go. So I got into real estate in the year 2000. Can you hear me okay?
We're good.
Cool. I got into real estate the year 2000, what would have been my senior year of high school. And I thought I was going to be a professional skateboarder. I ended up working for one of the top real estate training companies, and that was basically my college, right? And I found out I was going to be a father my junior year of high school, and this company really trained me on the scripts and the dialogues, and that was they taught me two things. They taught me the scripts and they taught me how to time block. I didn't start selling real estate until 2004 though. So it's been a really wild ride, man. I think it didn't get really good though until I had been in real estate for 12 years. Because from the year 2000 to 2011, it was okay. But 2012 was really the year that it started to go crazy.
All right, so let's talk about 2004 to 2008, that segment real quick.
Yeah.
What was business like the last 4 years? Because 2007, 2008 is when we had the recession.
Yeah.
What was it like up to that point into your career?
So 2004 was the official first year I started selling real estate under my own name. And I was working in the San Gabriel Valley in Southern California. So that's like Pasadena to Rancho Cucamonga. I lived downtown LA at the time, and I was doing probably about 20 transactions a year, average sales price $450. And then I left real estate in 2008. I was just kind of burned out from it. I had two different kinds of people. I had myself, you know, into skateboarding and hip hop, and then I had real estate Kev, who only said Mike Ferry scripts and wore a suit all day long and met with people and said things like, at the end of my presentation, there's one of three things that's going to happen. And it really made me sick. And I left the business because I feel like, you know, I started making six figures when I was 18, and I spent all of it. But I felt like I was really blessed with some incredible gems from the people that I got exposed to, and I wanted to teach teens that work. I wanted to teach the youth these principles, and I started a company called Peace Academy in the year 2008, and I thought I was going to be like this huge global life coaching company for the youth. And by the end of 2009, I was quickly like, I gotta figure something else out ASAP. Yeah, so I got back into real estate in the middle. So I did the life coaching thing from 2007 to 2009, and I got back into real estate in the middle of 2009. It was my absolute like worst case scenario to get back in.
And real estate was like in the worst possible market in 2009,
well, I mean, when
right?
I left, like everybody was getting a home, you know, like my wife was doing loans at the time. Like, you know, strippers were buying houses. It was insane. Like anybody could get a loan in 2006. So it was insane. And then when I got back in, it was like, you gotta be kidding me, man. We'd be showing these foreclosed homes, and it'd be spray painted on the walls, just like F Washington Mutual, and it was insane. And so
I forgot about WAMU. They got
man, it was
buyouts.
insane,
I
dude.
remember. Yeah, that's funny. So what's up with the winds though? Like I tried to land in the Ontario airport a couple of weeks ago. Like what is up with the winds in that area? Like we couldn't even land there. It was so strong. Is that normal?
Yeah, it gets really windy right there. Yeah, that was the whole zone right there. The average sales price when I was selling there was probably about 300,000, for like a regular size home, and I was selling condos even at that time for 150,000. And I did my very first $1 million deal in the year 2009. I was living in Glendora at the time, and a buddy of mine, my best friend, his clothing company was huge, and he asked me to help him buy a home in Laguna Beach, and I got to experience what that was like, selling $1 million home. But the interesting thing was, I didn't immediately continue selling $1 million homes. I did that $1 million deal and went right back to how I was doing things before.
Yeah. So let's shift gears. Let's talk 2009 to 2000. I think you said 2014 is when it started. When did it start shifting that you're like, you know what, 2012. When is it, like, what had to click for you that's like, dude, I got to do $1 million deals? Like, why am I not focusing on this?
Yeah, so what had happened was on Memorial Day 2011, my best friend, he was really more like a brother to me. He is actually the first person who I sold my first $1 million home through in 2009. He passed away. And a few months after that, my dad got really sick and he passed away. And then around that same period, my closest uncle passed away. And I probably sold 4 homes that whole year. And they were all from January 2011 to May 2011. From June to December, I did everything that I've always done. I made my calls, I knocked the doors. I couldn't sell a single house. I was in a very dark space. I was also battling challenges with drinking and other substances, and I just could not get into the zone. And then the thing that really kind of shifted it was right after my dad passed. It was January 2015. My lady and I also split up, and for the first time, and mind you, my daughter was also born in October 2011. So just a lot of a mix of energy, a mix of frustration, and just trying to figure things out. And I wanted to kill myself. Like, the start of 2012, right after my dad passed, I was completely broke. I mean, could barely make my car payment. I truly wanted to jump off a cliff. And I have a mentor, his name's Thatch. Like, I knew I wasn't going to, but I definitely wanted to. And I told my mentor, like, look, I'm not making any money selling real estate anyways. I might as well give this life coaching thing a shot again, because I know I have the ability to, for whatever reason, help people reach their goals, even if I'm a mess. And he's like, why do you always separate the two? Why not just mix real estate and personal development? And from that space, I was running on the treadmill, and I was thinking about why I got into real estate in the first place. And I was thinking about my son, who at this point is now 12 years old. He was born in 2000. And I thought about my dad. My dad's initials are KAS, and then my firstborn son is Eli. And just the words case kind of came across my mind. And I just started to think about, like, all the magazines I've always looked at, Dream Homes magazines, and I've always loved modern architecture. And my whole sphere of influence is in the action sports and streetwear industry, yet they all thought that I was in the fashion industry because of my best friend who had passed away. Like, my role as a real estate agent was secret because I was embarrassed about it. And so I came up with this idea in 2012 that I was going to focus on modern, contemporary, mid-century modern. I was going to focus on $1 million homes, and I was going to mix in my passion for life coaching and personal development with my company. And I created this whole vision for it, and I set the goal to be like the #1 agent by 2015, selling $100 million a year, which was a really crazy goal when in 2011, I think I sold $2.2 million. I sold like 400,000 or $500,000 homes. And I just kind of got back in the zone. And my very first sale after writing this whole thing down, a buddy of mine calls me, who is like the definition of somebody that represents the streetwear culture. And he's like, hey dude, man, I'm like, 2011 is really good for me. I'm ready to buy a new house. I sold him his first home in 2004, FHA financing, 725. And he said he could buy a home around 2.2 million. And I sold the house right at the beginning of that year, March 2012, for 2.5. And then he posted that sale on Instagram, and things just really started to spiral up. Yeah.
In a better. So before we start talking about the spiral up, because I mean, how many of you guys watching live would love a $2.5 million deal? Put a dollar sign in the comments below. But what I want to talk about, and I want to get into. Oh, your phone fell. There we are.
Yeah.
I want to get into this conversation because this is news to me. Is like, okay, 2011. I couldn't imagine like losing your dad, losing a great friend. I had a good friend of mine pass away July 2016. He was diagnosed with stomach cancer in February of that year. July 10th, he had passed away. Went from 195 pounds to 90 pounds, right? And that was when I really started to recognize my mortality. Like, dude, one day I'm going to freaking die. And then this year is the year I went through my divorce. So you mentioned you lost a friend, you lost your dad, you lost your lady, right? It sounds like you had some relationships there. Like, I can't even imagine like one pain stacked on top of the other, right? So
yeah,
I see so many professionals dealing with that pain in today's marketplace, and I shared that with you. Like, one of my things I'm passionate about is like I want to help people feel the fulfillment even in the shittiest times in life.
Right.
So how did you deal with that, and whether it was the right way or the wrong way, how did you deal with that pain in that time frame?
Getting back to gratitude, I think there's always something that we can be grateful for, right? I think you have to find what's working. You have to dive into like what you do have, because it could always get worse. You know, so I started working on the first 3 equities, which is my mind, body, soul. Right, so I am always working on the 7 equities, which are mind, body, soul, family, friends, business, and money. And in that period, I just, you know, like, we know all this stuff. We know that you're supposed to write out a list of what you're grateful for every single morning. You should wake up early and get your mind right and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, why do we not do these things? I think the reality is we're not clear on what we really want. So we might as well just kind of like hang out, keep doing what we've always done. Like, we can talk about the practices that I did and writing out a gratitude list and getting, you know, all these little things, but they all came from the place of getting really clear and really inspired about my big picture. That was the biggest shift. As I looked at my 3 kids and I'm like, if I go, what are they left with? You know, and I just really started to think about like what I wanted to leave them and who I wanted to be for them. And even though my lady and I were split up at that time, I think one of the big things that changed it is I didn't have anybody to blame. And I think when you're going through stuff, it's very easy to blame the closest person next to you. And so before you know it, I'm by myself. And there's nobody for me to blame. And from that very dark space, my company was born. And I mean, I sold 12 million in 2012, which was like, whoa, that was a big change from the 2 million I sold before. In 2013, I did about the same. And then 2014, things really shifted and I closed 33. And then the following year, sold about 50 million. And then 2016, we sold 104 million. That was our second. 2015 was our first full year as a team. And we sold 104 million. So it's like, the shift definitely occurred. It felt quick, but the amount of pain and roller coaster ride that I went through from the year 2000 to the year 2010, 2011 was what really prepared me for that. And I think
what do you mean by that?
Well, I
What
think
do you
like
mean by that?
in all the through those times, I would screw up and I would get really lost in my screw ups. Like I would spend so much time focusing on the failure. And like my mom would always tell me, if you focus on your problems, your goals disappear. Focus on your goals, your problems disappear. And yeah, that's a great quote. But until you've really been through it enough, when you're in the storm, it's hard to like really understand why is this happening. Whereas these days, you know, like I'm looking at my board right now, and for the first time, like right now I have $18 million active listings right now. Truly, if every single one of those fell apart right now, I would be bummed out for 2 hours. I would be bummed out. Maybe 2.5 hours. But it's like, I've learned enough about how going through the struggle and going through breakdown and being in this space of just like, why, that it empowers me now. You know what I mean? And like, I know that you have to go through those waves of like, man, why is this storm occurring right now? And I think that's the biggest piece of insight that I could try to give people is like, keep looking, you know, keep looking for why you're in that situation. Like, right? What's the quote? Behind every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent success.
Yep.
These are great quotes. Go and experience them for yourself. Like, I have screwed up enough to know, like, I'm a professional failure. That's why I succeed at a very high level. Because I've learned, man, I've been beaten up. And
so you faced temporary defeat a lot. And
dude,
you chose to either learn from it, or you didn't choose to stay the victim. You didn't choose to blame yourself over and over again. You stood up and kept going, even after the punches to the groin.
In those times, I was beat up. You know what I mean? And I went to substances to try to change the way I felt, or I would spend money in stupid ways. I wouldn't do things that were healthy to get myself on, and so it was a roller coaster effect. And then, God forbid, I closed a deal. Well, now I'm really gonna celebrate, right? Because I'm feeling so empty. I'm in such a space of frustration. Once I get something given to me, well, now I celebrate. Like, those would be the two places where I would fall off the most, is in the win and in the loss. You get a big win, you go and celebrate to make yourself feel better. You lose, you go and do something to feel better. Whereas now is I'm really about the craft. Like, I love the game. I love being on appointments. I love negotiating. I love prospecting. Yeah.
I love prospecting. Prospecting makes me more and more money. That's the great energy, right? So I love this topic because I see so many people hit their shame button. They fell on their face. They hit the temporary defeat. So they either start to beat themselves up. I'm not good enough, you know, to where people commit suicide. We see that happening more and more today. We see the other side where they attack others emotionally, verbally, physically. We see homicides today. We see people withdrawing and going into kind of hibernation. But what we see most of, and I see this so much, and we talked about this earlier, is people addicted to drugs now. Using Oxycontin is so easy to come by. I can't tell you the number of people that reach out to me and be like, dude, I use 5 to 10 Roxy a day. And I'm like, dude, how are you still functioning, right? But they're using alcohol, even marijuana. Like, I used to be the biggest proponent of marijuana, but I believe it really is a drug that people are using to distract from dealing with that pain, right? Because the pain and the loss, or not knowing how to deal with the victory. So you talked about, like, literally just taking responsibility. Like, I have no one else to blame. It's time to show up and to grow. So how did you spin with that spiral upwards with that responsibility energy? What had to continue forward? Not just start, but continue forward.
I think from that space of knowing, like, okay, this is up to me, that's where you get to create, right? Like, you can stand from that space of like, okay, so it's all up to me, and now what? That's what's really important is to know, like, okay, well, now what do I want? And that was the big thing for me, and that's what I continue to do every single day, is figure out what's really important to me. Like, what do I want to do, man? Like, you don't want to just sit there and take all the punches like, okay, it's just up to me. It's just up to me. Like, yeah, it's up to you. Now, here's the exciting part. What do you want to do? Like, what's it look like? And I think that's the biggest thing that gets people stopped, is they don't really take the time to say, okay, this is what I want it to look like. This is the game that I'm playing. And so when you deal with the hurdle, when you deal with the breakdown, you get stopped. When you're crystal clear on what you want your game to look like, you expect hurdles, and you know that when that wall comes up, I'm not going to let it stop me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to find a way over, find a way through, or find a way around, but no matter what, I'm getting to the other side. So step one, I would say, is figuring out, like, well, first off, it's realizing that everything that you're experiencing is on you. Like, every single thing you're experiencing, you created it. And then secondly, figuring out, all right, well, now what do I want my business to look like? You know, and being aware of how big am I really playing? Like, we went from nothing, like absolutely nothing, to our first year was 2014. We did half a year as a team, to since then we've sold just under 700 million in real estate. And it's like, that didn't happen on accident. You know, we got really clear on, we want to create the most legendary real estate team there is, and we want to do it in vans. Like,
not wearing a suit, saying one of three things is going to happen
man.
At the end of our
like
meeting.
We want to create a real estate company that really changes what it means to be an agent and really comes off with a human approach, and we're going to do it our way. And when you really look at our business and what we have and how we generated this, like, we don't do Facebook ads. We don't have some like super intricate system. We're just very clear on how do you generate leads, how do you close deals. And then we have this separate platform called Project Mindset, which is a whole like completely free program that just gives back. And it's about just like what you're doing here on this podcast, you know, like finding ways to be more of service to people. That's all we've really done, is we stand from the place of how can I help, how can I serve, and we chase the biggest deals you could possibly find in California. Like, I very easily could have stayed with what I was comfortable with, which growing up in lower income areas, I could have just, that's what I did for 10 years. I sold in lower income areas. That's what I was used to. And in order to tap into the multi-million-dollar price ranges, you know, like 2 of my listings right now are above 5 mil. One of them that I'm working on right now is 35 mil. You have to really trick your brain, trick your mind that you're deserving of that, because that's not what I wake up feeling. Like, I wake up feeling, today's the day you screw it up, dude. Like, that's how I feel 9 times out of 10. Today is the day you are going to screw this whole thing up. Whoops. I just screwed up this. I just screwed up my phone, see?
So let's just recap for a second. I think number one thing that I wanted to pick out for you guys is get extremely clear on your definition of purpose. What is your definition of success? And you got a blank canvas in front of you. You get to go paint it. And maybe Kevin can give us some ideas on how we can start stroking, right? Like, 'cause sometimes people are like, dude, I don't even know where to start the stroke. The other thing is I really took away from you was create the absolute certainty that I will fucking find a way to make this happen. I might have to plow through a fucking a brick wall, or I might have to swim across the river. I might have to fly across with an airplane. I don't know, but I will find a way to victory. I think the third thing to really stick out for you guys is create massive value for other people. Like, just go and serve in a human context of how can I make your life just a little bit better. Was there anything else I missed, or those are 3 main things?
No, man, I think you got it spot on. So number one, with figuring out, like, I'm gonna go and do it, like I'm gonna break through. Get clear though. What does that look like to you? You know, does it mean just one new listing? Does it mean a $50 million listing? And like, get excited about how big can you really play. That's a big part of it. And I think in setting these huge goals, you have to know there's going to be some uppercuts. You've got to know there's going to be some uppercuts. And when the uppercuts come, just get better at dodging them. And when you get hit, just get back up. You know, get back up and know that that's a part of the game. Go screw up more. There's a girl on our team who's training to become an agent, because one of the rules now to be on case is you have to have 10 million closed. And so she set a $13 million listing appointment with an expired last week. And at the last minute, the lady changed the appointment 90 minutes later, and I couldn't be there. And so I was like, you know what? Just go on the appointment by yourself. So she went on a $13 million appointment by herself. She's like early 20s. She has 2 deals under her belt. And this lady ripped her a new one. She, I mean, really just, I can't believe Kevin didn't show up. And you guys are so unprofessional. And just like yelled at her throughout the whole appointment. And I just congratulated her, you know, like, congratulations. That's awesome that you went through that. Like, and she's like, you know what? I can do this. You know, it was cool. It sucked for her in that moment, but I know she's grown in her confidence through that experience. And a lot of times we're not even taking enough action to experience those lessons. We're just like, what should I do? Should I prospect? Should I advertise? Should I go door knock? Do something. Do something, and whatever you decide to do, know that you're going to screw up. Maybe you're going to be the open house person. Maybe you're going to be the door knocker. This guy DM'd me the other day, and he's like, hey, what did you do in the start of your career, blah, 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 and I like text him a couple things. He's like, okay, just wondering if there's like anything else I'm missing. I'm like, yeah, bro, there's a lot of stuff that you're missing. This is called 10 years of getting your ass kicked. You kidding me? Go get some cars repossessed. Go freaking see what it feels like to write a check at a grocery store with a check that bounces before you even get the groceries out the store. Like, see what it feels like to live in a house with no electricity. You know what I mean? Like, yes, there's a lot more. Go get your ass kicked. And what's going to happen is you'll realize that you're so much stronger than you thought. You're so much stronger than you thought. But a lot of people, they're just spending too much time sitting around thinking about what they want to do or thinking about what they should do. Where the lessons that you're going to gain, it's in the game itself. It's in screwing up. It's in that lady who just yelled at the agent on my team. Like, dude, that's where you learn. So set the goals, yes. Play huge, yes. Know that there's going to be uppercuts. What else did you say that I said?
Serve others.
Oh, man, that's the biggest one. That is the absolute biggest one right there, dude. Is people can smell that commission breath from a mile away. You know it. You go to a car dealership and you can see the dude walking towards you who his energy resonates. Give me your money. And you're like, I don't want to talk to that dude. When you come from a place of how can I help? How can I serve? You say different things. And people can feel it. I went on 16 listing appointments in the last 30 days. I took 9 listings. It was 72 million in listing appointments completed, and I listed 16 million of those. I have 44 million of those still in the works. And the majority of those appointments that I went on, I showed up with my comps and my agreement and my folder, and I'm on an appointment and I'm next to this person who has these 2 books from my competitors on their table. And it's usually either a white book, a green book, or a brown book. And this freaking book is so nice. Excuse me, it's not a book, it's a box. In Newport Beach, everybody makes this box. And you open the box and there's like silk in it and like freaking dove flies out when you open the box. I swear, dude. And I show up and I'm just like, so why are you guys doing this? This house is amazing. Like, what are you doing here? Like, why would you sell this? And I just listen to them. And 85% of the time, I'm walking out with the signed contract. The number one agent here in our area, number one agent, was fired from 2 listings of his over this last 2 weeks, and I was the agent chosen to list both of those properties. And if you look at what I have from the outside compared to my competitors, the direct mail campaigns, the box, the car, the education, the membership at the local country club, which I don't have. I don't have any of that stuff. I focus on how can I help, man? Like, how can I be of service to you guys? And that does not mean only listing their house. Like, I show up like, how can I help?
Let's pause for just a second. I think there's a couple of things I want to kind of pull out of this. And I used to do the suit and tie every freaking day. For those of you guys know me, you go back on my old stories, Instagram videos, YouTube, right? I'm suit and tie, dude.
And you know what, look, nothing wrong with that either. If you feel good rocking a suit and tie, that's awesome. Good for you.
Yep. Yeah, and that was how I used to do it. I don't anymore. Now I freaking wear the same shirt over and over again, just with a different color of WGR, right? Like, it's just a different color.
It's a nice shirt. Send me one of those. I'll wear that.
Yeah, man, I'll send it. Shoot me your address after. I'll shoot it over to you. But get to what makes you feel good, right? It sounds like Vans and just dressing not in a suit and tie makes you feel good, makes you feel like you're in a space that you can roll, right? You don't feel fake.
Come on, man. You know how comfortable these shoes are right here?
I got a pair of Toms on right now.
It's awesome,
that's
dude.
The other thing, but the other thing I want to point out, though, and this has come aware for me a lot, and I love hearing you say it, is fall in love with that process. Like that, getting your teeth kicked in at that $13 million deal, showing up and be the 4th agent on the appointment and losing that listing, right? Yeah. Or just getting hung up on again over and over again.
Yep.
That was to me I remember when I was earlier in my career, when I started making what I thought was really good money, you know, and I was like, if I could just make more money, I'll be able to out hustle my problems.
Yeah.
More money came, but I still had problems. You know what I'm saying? And what I become aware of is like, no, let's not try to run away from these problems. Let's try to hug these problems. Let's try to love these problems. Let's try and just like be in it. Like, let's not love this process of getting my teeth kicked in over and over again. It's not focusing on where I'm at or even the other side of like the cliff I'm trying to leap towards. It's like, let's focus on this moment right now of whether it's good or bad, whether it's like I got that $1.5 million deal I closed, or if I just freaking got fired from a listing. Right. Like, let's learn from this. This is what it's all about. I love that takeaway from you.
Yeah, I love being in the craft, right? Like, I've brought on 2 people to help me with the process of once I get the listing, there's a process from getting the listing into negotiating with an actual buyer. Those are the 2 parts that I love. I love getting the listing and I love negotiating into escrow. Well, all these pieces in the middle, I've realized I'm not really good at and I don't enjoy doing it. So because I've been able to focus on that one thing, I've been able to acquire more listings and I've been able to add people to the team and delegate some of those pieces that I'm not inspired about. Because what we see so commonly happen is you work, you get a listing, and then you stop doing what you did to get the listing because you're taking care of your listing now. Whereas for me, I have a very clear process of getting up to bat, getting ink, negotiating deals. Getting up to bat, getting ink, negotiating deals. When I'm not getting up to bat and getting ink or negotiating deals, is very simple what I'm doing. It's only one of 3 things. It's prospecting for new business. It's coaching my agents or coaching in my outside coaching business. Or 3, it's creating content. Because those are all things that I'm inspired to do. But I love the craft. I love being in the work. So that's really what I encourage people to do is like figure out what's that thing that you do where you really shine. You know, I don't shine on a physical inspection. I don't shine sitting with an appraiser. I shine in face-to-face with the seller, helping them figure out what do they need to do to sell their home for top dollar. And I shine in creating bidding wars and selling homes for the highest price possible. I've set like 10 new high price records in 5 different cities in the last 12 months. So there's a skill set there. And Simon Sinek talks about it. He says, your why is the value that you give to the world. So when you figure out how are you the most valuable to the world, dude, and then you tap into that, that's where it gets really fun. Like, I'm clear on what the world and what I feel God wants to use me for. And so when stupid things come up, I'm like, no, that doesn't fit. Like, I'm supposed to be doing this thing over here. That thing over there doesn't fit. I'm not going to do it.
So let's shift gears. So we've talked a lot about, I believe, which is most important, 90% of the psychology behind it. Get extremely clear on your vision. Get obsessed with that. Do what drives you. Serve other people. Let's talk about some of the technical side of it. What are you doing to generate leads? And actually, before we do that, you had a belief you mentioned that maybe like, why do I deserve to get these $1 million listings? Like, I'm not in the country club. I don't belong to the clique or whatever. Like, how did you break through that mentally? And then let's talk about how did you start to generate those leads? What did you do to really break into it?
So the first thing that I did to tap into the high end was I had to get aware of the lie. And I had been telling myself a lie that I'm not good enough, and I'm not worthy, and I'm not educated enough, and I'm not white, and I'm not tall enough. And I had to really get real with the lie. Because if you don't get real with the lie, and you're just looking at your garden full of weeds, and you're like, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, like, it doesn't matter how much. You have to go to the foundation, and you have to go to that inner root system and pull out those roots. And I had to go and dig deep. And I got a lot of work through places like Landmark Education, a lot of therapy, a lot of personal mentorship. I don't know how people get by in the world without personal coaches and mentorship. Like, I have spent well over $100,000 in seminars and life coaching and therapists, and I'm still a mess. So that's number one, is identify the lie. Right? Like, I had been telling myself a lie that I adopted at a very early age of why I'm worthless. And so I had to mess with that. Part 2 is just do the work. You know, I'm a big fan of doing what I can with what I have. I don't want to wait till the flyers are done. I don't want to wait till my Zillow reviews are up. I don't want to wait till my license is hung underneath an Orange County branch. Like, my office is based out of Long Beach. I don't go to the office ever. My deals are all in high-end areas. The average sales price around where my office is $350,000. My average sales price is probably about $2.5 million, right? And so I'm a big fan of just doing what I can with what I have. And so I did the same stuff that I was doing to sell $350,000 houses and list $350,000 homes as I did to get my most recent deal, which is $35 million, which is pick up the phone or knock on the door. That's it. It's either pick up the phone or knock on the door. Like, I don't, that's all I know. I don't have like some pay-per-click program that gets me leads. I spent 40 grand in 2015 from Zillow, and I got 0 deals from that 40,000. That same year, I spent about 18 grand in different magazines, 0. So either my deals are from my sphere of influence, or they're from a call or a knock.
What are these? Are you knocking expired? Are you knocking FSBOs? Are you cold calling these areas that you want to target?
All of the above. All of the above. Although my pitch is basically the same thing. You know, I don't go to expireds and say, oh, hi, I know your home, it came off of the market, blah, blah, blah. I don't go to a for sale by owner. I look for, how can I provide value to that person right now? And the reality is, if you think about it, well, do they have the most recent information that I have? No. I have hot information. So before you go out and prospect, you actually have to know that you have valuable information. If you go out there talking to people like you're a cold caller, or you're just some like, hi, my name is, and you're all scared, you're going to get freaking kicked off the door. So step 1 is know your value. right? That was the thing I had to overcome in the first place. You have to know that you're worthy of being there, or else they're going to eat you alive. So once I figured that out, then I just went and did work. Hey, how's it going? Just letting you know about your neighbor's place, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, oh, what's going on? I'm like, oh, you didn't know? Yeah, your neighbor just broke a record for the highest price home ever, or whatever. The highest price home on the block. Really? Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, I just thought you'd like to know and see if maybe it's time for you to move to Paris or Oahu with all your equity. Try to get them to laugh within the first 60 to 90 seconds. And then if you can do that, so, man, this is incredible. You know how much this is worth? Blah, 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 blah. My approach is very like chill. I show up, I'm wearing jeans or I'm wearing shorts, and I provide knowledge. I'm not showing up like, hi, my name is da-da-da-da-da, and I'm from da-da-da-da-da, and do you want to sell your house with me? No, man. I used to do that.
So evolved. You had to go through that stage too, right, to get to this stage.
Yep.
You know, it's like, it's all part of the process and rolling through. All right, man. Well, I got to get rolling.
Me too, dude.
I got a date with my daughter going on. You know who
that's
Josh
awesome,
Groban is?
dude. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I'm
cool,
taking her
man.
to see Josh
How old is your daughter?
Yeah, I'm stoked. She's 6.
Oh,
so
that's cool, man. You come to Cali, we'll have to hang out. My daughter just turned 7.
Oh, nice, man. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you. How can people reach out to you, learn more about what you're doing, and just follow your story?
My Insta is the best way for sure, which is @Kevion, I haven't eaten today. No, I did eat today. Shout out to us eating today. That's awesome. @Kevion, Kevion. Yeah,
awesome.
I
cool.
do a lot. I do a lot there.
Connect with him there, gang. Appreciate you being here. I truly do. I didn't really know much about you. I'd heard about you from a couple people, and they tagged you, and they're like, "Dude, let's do it. Let's learn about this guy. He's got something going on that people want to hear about him." So appreciate you, man. Shoot me your address. I'll shoot your shirt out.
That's what's up.
See you later.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Peace.
We'll see ya.